I will particularly comment on two clauses of the bill, namely the Medical Council Act at clause 41 and the Pharmacy Act at clause 50 of the bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, it will be presumptuous of me to share my views on the 71 clauses due to time constraint, but also my limited expertise in some aspects of the bill. However, many friends on this side of the House have already commented on the number of fiscal policies that have gone the very short test of time and thus been modified, changed, as compared to its initial presentation during the budget speech. Mr. Speaker, sir, a sequence of backpedaling, self-denial, and pleading ignorance seems to have taken precedence of the upbeat budget speech, which was accompanied by the numerous tap la table. I do, however, note that the Minister of Finance has taken cognizance of the outcry regarding the solidarity tax, the discrepancy of tax levied on Mauritians as compared to foreign residents having similar income, among others, and has since then made sensible amendments. Mr. Speaker, sir, I now refer to the proposed amendment to the Medical Council Act, Section 22, subsection 1CA, where it is recommended to delete the words such examination as the Council thinks fit and replacing them by the word an examination. The word examination on its own is far too vague, since this examination is being carried out at a very crucial and specific time in the medical career of a newly qualified doctor, following his or internship training of 18 months. And I therefore suggest that it still be called medical registration examination. Mr. Speaker, sir, the frequency of this examination need to be mentioned as it is an important landmark as to whether it is a 6-monthly or yearly exam, because of the timeline that would exist between the completion of 18 months of internship before preparing for exam by the junior graduate. Mr. Speaker, sir, one has to keep in mind that an aspiring doctor will have plenty more exams to sit in the future, should he or she seek to attain specialization or subspecialization. And if the Medical Council were to standardize registration of specialist degrees in the future through examination, each exam conducted by the Council need to be name specific. Talking about specialist registration, currently the Postgraduate Board comprised of 3 specialists that make such assessment on the basis of an oral theoretical knowledge with no practical evaluation of surgical specialties. Mr. Speaker, sir, it would have been an opportunity to bring amendments to the Medical Council Act so as to standardize and assess properly specialists since they graduate from numerous universities around the world with different standards of practice. Mr. Speaker, sir, the second amendment at Section 22 of the Medical Council Act is adding new subsection 4 for the purpose of having, with the administrative assistance of the Council, be conducted by such examining body of international repute as the Minister may, after consultation with the Council, approve. I suggest that such examining body includes national or international repute, or both, as the Minister may, after consultation with the Council, approve. Already, the Medical Council has sent correspondence to all specialists and consultants in this country to submit their name of a possibility of being a candidate, or either to set a bank of multiple questions for the purpose of conducting exams. I do have a copy of this correspondence anyway, if anyone wants to consult. The request has been sent for the purpose of probably having a national board of examiners and having a national bank of questions. The administrative assistance goes without saying that it is paramount for the smooth conduct of the exams. Mr. Speaker, sir, though the exams should reflect the vast pattern of diseases that are common in Mauritius and which the new graduate will be facing daily, either in the emergency department or on the hospital wards. It is therefore extremely important that the examiners, be it of national or international repute, have a feel of our commonest pathology that prevails. And this is why I strongly believe, as a senior consultant myself in obstetrics and gynecology, and likewise in other specialties, my friends who are good clinicians and surgeons, have been qualified from top-notch medical institutions, be empowered to set examination together with the expertise of foreign institutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, since we are being marketed as a medical hub, we do therefore have the knowledge and clinical skills that are being recognized internationally, and the proof is that we have more and more foreign patients that come to seek medical treatment in Mauritius, and as seen recently, even our Malgache patient did came by a private jet. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to make a plea to the Minister of Health on behalf of the number of the newly qualified doctors who have already registered as pre-registration trainee with the Medical Council and are waiting to be recruited as pre-registration doctors in the public hospital. That number amounts to approximately 175 to 180. Mr. Speaker, sir, many of these young graduates come from low to middle-class families whose parents have taken bank loans to support their academic studies and who were supposed and expected to be the pride of the family. Sadly, some of them are today even taking job as pharmacy dispenser, looking for nursing assistant posts, working as bricklayer in the construction business, or any manual job in an attempt to support their families. This is heartbreaking. This is heartbreaking because of the sacrifice these young doctors have made during their 6 years of academic life. Heartbreaking because their parents cannot today have the pride that their youngsters, their sons and daughters, are working as doctors. In this context, I request the Minister of Health that all these pre-registration trainees since 2015 be given a fair chance to be recruited as pre-reg doctors so that in 18 months' time, they can take the exam and get fully registered. A policy of pick and choose or selective approach must not prevail. Finance at the Ministry of Health should not be an issue to recruit these youngsters because of the spending spree that we have been seeing recently. Mr. Speaker, sir, as for the French specialists, which was mentioned already, qualified in France and registered at l'Ordre des médecins, the Minister may request the Medical Council to have an MOU with the French counterpart as to the satisfaction of training of our national trained there and requesting to come back to serve the country. Monsieur le Président, c'est impensable qu'un chirurgien hautement qualifié en France ou médecin de médecine interne et qui exerce comme chef de clinique pendant des années est appelé à faire un internat de 18 mois à Maurice avant qu'il puisse pratiquer. Si des exemptions du Medical Council sont autorisées à des visiting consultants venant de France ou de la Réunion pour aider nos confrères dans certaines spécialités, pourquoi pas nos propres compatriotes qui ont eu leurs responsabilités attribuées en France par leurs connaissances médicales peuvent pas le faire. Certes, la solution peut être trouvée, il suffit d'avoir du bon sens. Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope in the interest of good practice of medicine, these two amendments, that is examination to be referred as a medical registration examination in section 22, subsection 1CA, and section 22, subsection 2, examining body of international repute, be replaced by examining body of national or international or both be considered. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will now comment on the very topical Pharmacy Act, whereby Section 2 of the Act is being amended in the definition of standards and deleting all European and replacing by European or Indian. Monsieur le Président, dans le fond, c'est une bonne chose. Et je le dis, dans le fond, c'est une bonne chose. Mais dans la forme, Monsieur le ministre, j'ai de fortes appréhensions. Il ne faut pas sourire quand il va de la sécurité et la qualité des médicaments. La sécurité, la qualité des médicaments pour notre population. Il n'y a pas de compromis quand il s'agit de la santé de notre population. Mr. Speaker, sir, incorporating Indian pharmacopoeia will go in a long way in breaking monopoly and cartel, but extreme caution, and I repeat, extreme caution is required. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me explain myself. So much confusion and different information has been given about the interpretation and understanding of Indian pharmacopoeia. Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission is an autonomous institution of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in India, which sets standards of all drugs that are manufactured, sold, and consumed in India. Indian pharmacopoeia are standards set to manufacture, sale, and consume of drugs in India alone. Indian pharmacopoeia drugs are destined for the local market. Indian pharmacopoeia is a regional standard which does not conduct quality control tests as per standards set by the World Health Organization. While British pharmacopoeia, European one, and the US pharmacopoeia are international standards having the good manufacturing practice, a quality standard set by the WHO that has an important role in assuring guidelines in pharmaceutical products to avoid four things: cross-contamination, mix-up, counterfeit medications, and false labeling. We already, as I'm tabling it, if you want to see it, it has been tabled before. We already had the problem of false labeling before concerning very important drugs such as sodium valproate being replaced by clavulanic acid and amoxicillic acid known as augmentin. Drugs manufactured under the USP pharmacopoeia, British pharmacopoeia, are not sellable in India local market per se, so as to protect the emergence of the local manufacturers and local market economy of the pharmaceutical industry in India. If we were to buy Indian pharmacopoeia drugs, we are also accepting to buy drugs, unfortunately, by bogus importers from wholesalers and not solely from manufacturers. There are 33,000 pharmaceutical companies in India that export drugs, and they all have the British and the United States pharmacopoeia standards. Mauritius has always imported drugs from India from highly reputed companies such as Cipla, Ranbaxy, Glenmark, AstraZeneca, with BP, British Pharmacopoeia, and United States Pharmacopoeia accreditation. Accepting such international standards imply our procurement process are harmonized in line with the SADC. With British Pharmacopoeia, European Pharmacopoeia, and the US Pharmacopoeia, we benefit de facto. And this is very important. We benefit de facto from inspection and control from the US FDAs and the European Middle East African Institution for Public Procurement. Mr. Speaker, sir, if we are to allow Indian pharmacopoeia drug, which I repeat is meant for the local Indian market, which usually do not have the CMP or COMP certificate, then do we have a quality control lab for medicine imported in Mauritius? We are here talking of a serious aspect of security, safety, quality, and efficacy of medication that would be given to our public, particularly those attending the public hospitals. Mr. Speaker, sir, my concern is what? 80% of the population do not attend the private institution, private clinic. 80% of the population go to the public sector. And we have a duty.
Honorable Member, would you mind come back to the finance bill?
Yes, it is part of what I'm trying to explain why I have an issue with having the Pharmacy Act amended. All I'm saying is to prove my point that I personally have strong concerns with Indian pharmacopoeia coming without having any barriers as to quality control.
You already made that point.
I still have to make the point, Mr. Speaker, sir, please.
I am ruling. Honorable member, I'm ruling. You cannot comment after my ruling.
Okay.
Carry on.
Thank
You
you.
already made the point. Carry on.
We have a duty to protect and to ensure that we get the best. And if we from this side of the house, and even you on the other side of the house, we do not fight for our close ones, kids, kin, who will do that? Will you accept, and I put the question to all members of the House, will you accept medications that have not gone through the rigorous testing, or will you request for the best when you shop at the counter? I'm sure, because we all here mostly can afford to go to private chemists and get the best medication, we will look for the best. Mr. Speaker, sir, unless we have a highly advanced quality control lab, then it will be safe to have such medications in Mauritius. We do not, for the time being, have a quality control lab, and only when quality issues arise, then random sample of incremented batches are sent to Government Analytic Division at Réduit. It is only then that comparative tests are brought to compare. Our imported medications are not accredited by the Mauritius Standard Bureau because we have always been buying Indian drugs accredited with EP, European Pharmacopoeia, US Pharmacopoeia, and British Pharmacopoeia. Two-thirds of the medicine bought in Mauritius for the public sector come from India, and we fully support that. And this has been ongoing for years. But at the same time, we have been buying generics from reputed companies that have got the GMP certificate, such as Ranbaxy, Cipla, Glenmark, Dr. Reddy's Lab, Intas, Zimlab. The Pharmacy Board has a database of registered products, and only those products registered can be put on sale. Mr. Speaker, sir, listening to the Honourable Minister of Finance during his intervention last Tuesday with regard to the Gambling Regulatory Act, whereby at clause 25, the Minister mentioned about having laboratory tests to supervise gambling machines. I recommend and I hope that our Minister of Health, for such life-dependent commodities such as drugs, whereby no provision for either upgrading or setting of a new control lab is mentioned, that amendments be made. Indeed, there is pharmacovigilance department at the Ministry of Health, but my information is that there is not even follow-up on adverse drug reaction. And if we were to accept Indian pharmacopoeia, can we therefore include the Chinese pharmacopoeia or even the Japanese pharmacopoeia? Because the active pharmaceutical ingredient all comes from China. So it does make sense that we do include China and Japan as well. Mr. Speaker, sir, regarding backdating the amendment to January 2019, I request if the Minister of Health will give us some information on why this amendment needs to be backdated for 18 months. Is that good governance? Is it employed to protect certain suppliers who have already delivered Indian pharmacopoeia medications months before as their pro forma advice given to them, and therefore payments can be expedited? Or is there such a huge stock of medications, IP, that have been imported since long and are waiting to be taken on board by the Ministry of Health? We need formal clarification to this issue. Backdating to a maximum of 6 weeks would have been far reasonable. The Minister is, however, compelled to give us some explanation as to why such a lengthy backdate. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will now comment on what Honourable Minister Siraton mentioned in his address last week, pertaining that we are very happy to go to India and have treatment there, but we are apparently against the Indian drugs. And I quote, so many Mauritians go for treatment in India, why do they go there? And I unquote, saying that because we are telling India are substandard. My honourable friend probably, in his due respect to him, he made comment from what he's been advised and told. However, I would like to point out that we Mauritians go to India for treatment, and the main reasons are the advanced logistics of medical care, in cardiology, cancer, subspecialty like pediatric surgery, in vitro fertilization, among others. B, highly trained medical consultants in many subspecialties. Today's specialty is no longer the talk of the town. Subspecialty is what makes things happen. Example, we had it recently, the separation of conjoined twins recently, liver transplant. Thirdly, advanced therapeutics, bone marrow transplant. And fourthly, the low cost. Mr. Speaker, sir, these treatments are usually carried out in the very best of Indian hospitals. Apollo Hospital, Fortis, Manipal Group, Max Healthcare, and Columbia, among others. And when it comes to using treatment using drugs, they do have access to the BP, British Pharmacopoeia, US pharmacomedication, manufactured in India, which have GMP license. And these highly quality generic drugs are manufactured by reputed accredited companies such as Sun Pharma, Glenmark, Cadila, and Wockchard. That is why we as clinicians do not have any issue with the treatment being provided there, and rightly so, we do recommend patients to go there for treatment. I, like many of my colleagues, we are, and we will always support the Indian pharmaceutical products made in India. There is no bashing, and which have the full WHO endorsement, that is the GMP certification, but will not condone those of substandard with no quality assurance, safety, and sourcing information. Mr. Speaker, sir, these are very sensible issues, as most of us have umbilical links to India, and many of us have roots there, including me and many here. And while we are surely having a clash of ideas and opinion with regards to safety, quality of medication that our population is entitled to have in the public service, we must all refrain from dangerous comments that step outside the parameters of professional and ethical discussion. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will personally, and my colleagues on this side of the House, and I'm sure certain on the other side, will leave no stone unturned to ensure that our people, the 80% of the population who can't afford private care, attending public hospital, be served with the best, the safest, the highest standard and quality medications. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am compelled to mention pack and blisters as per the numerous comments and media coverage we had so far. I wish to highlight a few points which I will leave to the members, particularly on the other side, to reflect and have their own judgment. En votre âme et conscience, vous allez plus tard être responsable de vos décisions. Pack and Blisters incorporated in 2012 and changed name 3 times, from Loro Pharma to No Stock Business, and finally as we know it. Still, it bore the same business number. It changed directors 6 times. Why? The founder was condemned in 2015 for fiscal fraud and a fine of 125 million rupees equivalent and condemned for 13 years. The company has a turnover of only 1.3 million euros as tabled last year in its last financial statement, and yet was entrusted a contract to the value of 474 million rupees. Was the Pack and Blisters the only company that could apparently supply us ventilators in time during the COVID period? An equipment which is sensible, life-threatening, and has not been able to do so as yet, despite that other recognized suppliers with such for such life-threatening equipment have not been given the leeway, the opportunity to bring ventilators because apparently they could not have delivered it in time. I'm not going to indulge at present on the conflicting reasons that has been enunciated by different members and advisors on the other side, but I said I put it rightly, if effectively those ventilators were defective, then right at source, we chose the wrong company. We should not have bought from them. There has been, for Pack and Blisters, no information as to its local representative. No information as to the technical backup, training, and commissioning, and whenever, if ever, they get delivered. Mr. Speaker, sir, it appears that the remarks of the last audit report, published on the angiography machine at G2 Hospital, where it mentioned the lack of technical support, no local engineer in Mauritius, another high-tech life-saving machine, has once again, unfortunately, fallen on deaf ears, ou soit filmé de l'huile des oreilles.
You have only a few minutes, honourable member.
Thank you. Do ask yourselves, where is credible KYC, good governance in it all? Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope my comments and concerns will be given some due attention. Thank you all.